LimeVibe, komm let me lime, komm let me vibe. LimeVibe, komm let me lime, komm let me vibe. LimeVibe, LimeVibe.
Good night, everybody, and welcome once again to another LimeVibe Live podcast. I'm your host, your master of ceremonies, Mr. Yuri Kemp, all the way from Nassau, Bahamas. And I'm joined by my co-host, Ms. Kimberly Ramkalawan from Trinidad and Tobago. How are you, Kim?
I am doing as best as I could, given my technical issues.
Yeah. The devil always tempts you, right? At the worst times, right? But you're doing good. You sound kind of upbeat regardless, though. You sound a chipper in your voice.
It's Wednesday, so Wednesday is what Wednesday. It's like a lot of news that was coming in here in Trinidad last minute. And then I was typing up a story to send out to my affiliates, and my computer crashed and I lost the entire story.
Oh, Lord. So that means you got to stay up all night doing that, right?
I've got to write it over. I mean, I did a pretty okay job, and then, yeah.
Okay.
So even Microsoft with its even when it shuts down and freezes, it didn't. I mean, I saved it. It saved up to a certain point, but the critical and gist of it, I lost it.
Yeah, the part where you have the most input into it, right? Like the most.
Yeah,
I know that happens all the time. I work with the Mac at my office, and trust me, the Mac sometimes shuts down Microsoft Word, and it's like, oh my goodness, right at the piece, but I actually put some thought into this, man, and it just crashes. It doesn't save. It's brutal. So I understand what you're going through, Kim. Hopefully you have enough energy. Drink some coffee.
I just did, yeah, in order to perk me up. Probably that's kicking in. Yeah.
You'll be okay.
How was your day? I know you. I mean, I was just excited to hear all about your Tuesday because you were sitting with the big wigs yesterday, as you said.
Oh yes. I was with the big shots. I was amongst royalty.
You were featured in the Tribune, the Bahamas Tribune yesterday.
Yes. I made the news, man. It's a big event, the Royal Fidelity Economic Outlook, man. I was moderating the panel with one of your compatriots, Ms. Mala Dukaran. She's a very, very intelligent woman. I didn't realize how tiny she was, though. She's extremely tiny. She's a little petite, little tiny little thing, man.
Yeah. What a powerhouse, packing a power.
Yeah. She's a mighty mouse, ain't she? Yeah, man. She's extremely intelligent, man. Much respect to Ms. Mala Dukaran, actually. And she was on the panel with myself and our Minister for Economic Affairs, Mr. Michael Halkitis, and also with a lawyer, a tax lawyer from McKinney, Bancroft and Hughes, Kevin Marie. So we had a great time yesterday afternoon on that panel. And they talked to us about this global tax minimum that the EU countries and the G20 countries are trying to force onto the rest of the developing and developed world. You heard about this global tax minimum, Kim?
Yeah.
I mean,
as we said, we had teased a bit about it on Monday. Countries like mine are going to suffer because we have all these multinational corporations. Their headquarters are not based in Trinidad. But if you cut corporation tax out of it, that's a good chunk, of money that we earn here from these corporations that establish, and they come and they take our resources and they make profits, huge profits.
Yes. Something I asked Mala Dukaran about that on the panel on Tuesday. She said she doesn't know what the people in Trinidad are worried about because she said corporations pay 30% already in Trinidad, so it shouldn't be a big issue.
I remember during the COP26, I think Prime Minister Rowley had spoken a bit about it. A lot of the African countries were talking about it as well, but it's still a good bit. And I know that there's a bit of, you talk a good bit about competitiveness and being competitive when it comes to, attracting your investors and companies to your shows. So it in Trinidad, we know it looks at your entire tax regime and your tax structures when it comes to attracting investors. You've got they usually analyze it, and they usually, so far, a lot of talk has been a bit about, the taxes that they pay, outside of the corporation tax. So they've
Yes.
got other, other taxes that they pay elsewhere, and yeah.
Yeah. The EU just doesn't understand what's going on. But we're going to get to the African countries though, because they have a proposal into the United Nations now. So we're going to get to that. So we're going to talk about that. But let's just try to clean up what the situation is with this global tax minimum though, because only the large countries want it and they want to impose on the rest of us. And my thing is, I don't think it's going to be that easy to put it in place, Kim. Because a lot of countries like ours, like the Bahamas, you don't have corporate tax, you don't have income tax at all. So everyone has this assumption that, oh, no, we're just going to put in corporate tax and income tax. They don't know how difficult that is. I remember when the value added tax was coming on stream about when it was 2012. Yeah, it was 2012. It wasn't that easy, man. 2012, 2013, it was not that easy. There was a lot of legislation, there was a lot of public education forms, there was a lot of things that went along with that. And so people are this assumption that, oh, we just put a 15% tax on corporations that come to the Bahamas. That's not going to be easy. And you can imagine all the other countries that don't have a corporate tax are not even integrated into the international system the way that these large European countries are. So that's going to be a problem already, but we'll see. There are this assumption that, oh, because we did it, you could do it as well. No, that's not the case. And even with countries that do have a corporate tax, they're going to have some problems with trying to adjust that corporate tax rate to keep businesses in their country, foreign offshore businesses in their country, as well as trying to manage their macroeconomic principles and their macroeconomic foundation. It's not going to be easy, but the European Union doesn't care. They want to collect these taxes and they want us to do it for them. That's what's so sickening about it, man, So we'll see. We'll see. It seems like Mala Dukran is for this global tax minimum, man.
She is for it.
Yeah, she sounds like she's for it because from the panel yesterday, she sounds like she's an advocate for it. Maybe they're paying her to do it. I'm not sure. I don't want to cast any aspersions on her name, right? But all of the panelists seemed like they were for it. I was like, wow, your guys are for tax. Usually you try to run away from tax,
I mean, I think American Congress passed the alternate corporate tax sometime last year, right? America has already included it, not so?
Okay. They have? Okay.
I believe so. And yeah. So we'll see. And I'm not sure how it's going to affect their economy. I mean, their economy is quite large.
Yeah.
In Trinidad, we have the energy sector, and all these things, play into our revenue streams.
Yes.
Because on top of that, we have the supplemental petroleum tax. It was, I mean, they're already reducing some things about it. So it's affecting us, because we're fluctuating oil and gas prices. And what else is there? In Trinidad, we have I know the energy sector has been clamoring for us to reform our tax regime to attract more investors. So, and I believe BP had put out their financials, and it said how much billions were made. And I mean, it's a small amount to pay, right?
I guess so, but the thing about it is that with that too, I mean, it's a small amount. I mean, the 50% is a small amount to pay.
30% that Trinidad already has, right? They would have paid that when they established their company. Anyone establishing it coming into our shores.
Okay, well, I guess so. If people really want, because another thing they said as well is that this money isn't going to be used. They're going to allow us to keep some of this corporate money just once that we have the taxation system in place. And I don't believe that at all, Kim. You believe that? They said that they're going to allow us, if we implement the tax, the 15% global minimum tax, they're going to allow us to keep the money. Okay, they just want to see the tax in place so they can monitor their companies. I don't think that's true. That sounds like a bait and switch. I asked the minister Alpi's point blankly. I mean, doesn't that sound like a bait to you? Are they trying to get you more deeply involved with them before they hit you with something else? Because we know the European Union is being keen on moving the goalpost every other month or every other year or so.
Every 6 months.
They want that. So That's just a bait and switch, man. Because I can imagine how we're going to go down that rabbit hole, and I don't want us to validate their position, and that's why I'm going to get to the African countries as well, because apparently the African countries have a proposal into the United Nations. We're in the United Nations now to monitor this global tax minimum. Rather than the G7 countries and the G20 countries, they want the United Nations to put up their own tax infrastructure system. They have to monitor this global tax initiative. And my thing is, Kim, I think it's validating an already absurd position that you could put a tax on everybody else around the world. I think it's an absurd proposition because it assumes that everybody could put in place this 50% global minimum tax. I don't think it's going to be done that easily. Then what if people say no? Because I'll tell you something right now, if say for example, if the Caymans says no, I'm going to say no too. So, but then what's going to happen? If the Cayman says no and gets to it, I'm not going to put in the global tax minimum myself. So they think it's going to be easy. And that's even before we get to the point of whether or not we putting all the legislation in place on a national level to make way for corporate tax and income tax. That takes time. And the minister alluded to that on Tuesday. That takes time. That's not going to happen overnight. So this could be another 3-4 years on the road. And I think that we should just continue to stall them until they forget about it. Because I think it's an absurd position, to be honest with you, to tell sovereign countries that they should put in this global tax minimum. It's just an absurd position, Kim.
According to the World Economic Forum, they said 136 countries have already signed for this, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good bit of nations. And I know that Africa has been vocal about it too.
Yeah.
You know, 4 countries that have been vocal, I think, are Kenya, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. You know, so, and they said what those countries, but the countries that already signed up for it account for like what 90% of the global economy, according to the World Economic Forum. So
that's something else there.
I mean, it's something. It all comes down to attracting foreign investment. When you do that, you're going to encourage companies to stay home. They're not going to expand. They're not going to want to step out of their shores. Their headquarters are going to remain in Europe. Once again, colonization in another form, right?
Yes, indeed. And that's speaking of staying in Europe, because that's what I think this global tax minimum is going to do. Why would they want to come to the Bahamas and they can pay 15% when they can stay in Brussels or Luxembourg and pay the same 50%? It just doesn't make any sense. You know, and I was asking the lawyer on the panel, Mr. Kevin Murray, and he said that, you know, the Bahamas is a great place to be safe, so we're not going to lose any business at all. I think that's just wow. But I had to stay neutral because I had to ask the questions, right? You know, I'm not here. Yeah, so I think I had to stay neutral, but I said, man, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they want to leave Europe to come to the Bahamas and to pay the same tax? It doesn't make any sense. You know, if anyone's shoveling that to you, I don't think anybody in the audience believed that, to be honest with you. Just as much as they didn't believe the point that they're going to allow us to collect all the taxes. I don't believe that either. I believe there's some other bait and switch they want us to get us involved in. And all these countries that signed on to this, right? They signed on to this. They can't be all intimidated of the European Union. Man, we let the European Union slide right back into world dominance, and they should not have been. After Britain broke off with Brexit, we should have kicked the European Union to the curb. You know, we already have the United States, we already have China. We don't need the European Union to any great extent. They need to be put in their place, Kim. Because we moved away from them, you know. They're nothing without the United States. Believe me, they are nothing without the United States. Europe is nothing without the United States keeping NATO up and about. If NATO wasn't in place, if they did not have the economic cooperation with the United States, European would fall apart and they'll start fighting with one another, and that entire European Union, their monetary union would collapse. And they know it, but we keep on letting them come into this conversation, and they shouldn't be. They are something from our past. They are the colonial masters of our past, and they need to stay in the past. But we keep on letting them in the door, Kim. I don't know why. I don't know why we do this. You know, have some balls, man, please. My God. Anyway, so I ranted on enough about the European Union tonight, right? Yeah, but that's how I felt. But you know, on that panel, I had a great time on the panel yesterday, by the way. The panel was a brilliant panel. We spoke about a lot of things regarding this global tax minimum, and we elucidated the crowd, and I felt great about it. Even though I had to stay neutral, I had my own positions. I had to stay neutral about it, but at the end of the day, I think everyone had a good time. You know.
What was the audience like, by the way?
Pardon?
What was the audience like? You know, the audience composition like?
business class. Those tickets were $400 a piece, so they had to come in there with their Sunday finals on. There was no jeans and t-shirt for sure. This is for high corporate levels of employees and the employers. You know, this is top line stuff, man. This is the head table, Kim. This was no part-time side door thing, or you just passing by, you stumble in. No, this is the big time. This is the big time, man. And your campus right in the thick of it.
Campus, I was not going to say that.
I was in the thick of all of that, and I was just glad I was invited to it. Actually, I was just happy to be there. That they respected me enough to actually ask me to moderate the panel. You know, I just felt the scene to do it, and hopefully it gets into more engagements like that. But we'll see. But I had fun. I enjoyed it. I like the limelight. I like the time. I like the time. Actually, the name of this podcast was going to be, you know, Limelight.
Limelight. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that.
But it was stolen. Someone already had Limelight, so we had to go with something else. And I went with Lime Time, and Lime Time was stolen as well, Kim. So I had to go with LimeVibe. And I don't think LimeVibe was a bad idea. LimeVibe was pretty good because we are kind of mellow duo. You know, it's not so high strung. We talk about a lot of stuff. We talk about relationships. We talk about God. We talk about politics. We talk about economics. We go through a whole host of things, Kim.
Spectrum of anything you can talk about under the sun.
Yes, indeed. So I just want to encourage people who are listening right now or who are going to watch this later on, please subscribe to the channel, our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, because it really helps us out grow our membership and our viewership. So please tune into us and keep on with us, man, because it's not as stuffy as you think it is, and it's not as loose and as loosey-goosey as you think it is. You know, we're a good duo, man. We're good people. So Kim, what else is happening with on your end, man?
What else is happening here? I mean, well, you heard what happened. I think Stuart Young, our energy minister, he visited Venezuela again this week. Yes, I'm saying
right.
Yeah. It's normal to go to nicknames. I'm sorry. I did not say it aloud. But yes, they went on to sign a non-disclosure agreement with the Venezuelan oil company PDVSA, and they just put out a release because these things. I don't think it gets media coverage because it's really the state entities, state agencies like our national gas company and the permanent secretaries within the Ministry of Energy meeting with through the ambassador for Caracas and things like that. I think they met with the vice president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, along with her contingent of oil experts and gas companies. Yeah, the companies in Venezuela. So they did not give details about it, but they said that conversations are still ongoing as to how they're going to progress with regard to the technical and commercial aspects of the plan development. So it's still up in the air. Shell TT's senior vice president was there, Eugene Okpe, as well as members of Shell, because Shell is the preferred company that America has allowed to do this.
Really?
Yeah. So there was Chevron. I think there was Chevron, but I'm not sure what's going on there. If Chevron is on the side of Venezuela, but yeah. This is all coming out from the Dragon gas deal. Remember, they've got just 2 years to get everything done and to start making profit. We don't think it's likely to happen because America is, even our prime minister and the energy minister has been vocal and outspoken about this. It's not likely that they're going to get the structures ready and be able to tap into gas just yet. Going to take a lot more than 2 years to get this completed and up and running.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, it's a big project. Obviously, you've got to sort out how you're going to reimburse Venezuela for their resources, because obviously the sanctions are still there. They can't get money, so we have no details as to how that is going to happen.
Yes.
Trinidad, it's vital to get it up and running quickly because we are in a dire need to get natural gas. We have a natural gas shortage here in Trinidad. So the quicker that they move, it will, augur better for us here in Trinidad. So we're not too sure, but it's amazing that we always see Delcy Rodriguez in play with this entire thing. You never see Maduro himself.
Never.
And you hear him from a distance.
Yeah,
from
when he's
a
cursing
remote.
the United States.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, but these conversations were happening even during the pandemic, because there was this whole hoopla that there was a flight, even when flights were grounded, the flight radar and tracking so that a plane went to Venezuela. A plane landed in Piaco, and the airports authority had picked up on it and reported on it.
Wow.
So, it's like, okay, y'all are talking with the neighbors and y'all didn't let us know. All of that was in public. None of us could fly. Only get to take a plane ride.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
So yeah, that's just a jokey part of it. I'm just making joke of the entire thing in that sense. But we'll wait and see what's going to happen. They're saying that obviously America can always change their minds. They can expand. They can hope. Trinidad I know they're going to utilize their lobbying power, whatever they have. They found favor with Maxine Waters. They found favor with a lot of the Caribbean diaspora, even
Maxine. Yeah, she loves the Caribbean.
Yeah. So they're finding favor. I mean, we have a new ambassador. I think U.S. Ambassador Bond. She came in sometime this year. And perhaps she is currying favor for Trinidad and Tobago with the Democratic Party that's in power now.
That's good. Maxine has always been a stalwart for the Caribbean,
Yeah.
She's always been one of our staunchest supporters in Washington, D.C.
And then the whole idea about it, I mean, Trinidad and Tobago got the support of your prime minister, all got the support of Jamaica's prime minister, the entire region lobbied for this support when they met with the U.S. Congress sometime last year. With hopes that they too will benefit from this gas deal. And it shows how the Caribbean is kind of rallying around Venezuela at the same time.
Anything that pisses off the Biden administration and the U.S. government per se, they're going to take it, because they still feel as if they feel some kind of way about the racism and the imperialist power that the United States is. So take that with a grain of salt. They don't really care about Venezuela per se. They just want to thumb it. They just want to make it feel as if they're being man and woman, big man, big woman, by telling the United States, oh no, I'm signing up to you, That's all they're doing it for. Don't pay them no mind. Those little pipsqueaks any mind, man. I know them.
Was it pipsqueaks you're talking about? CARICOM leaders or CARICOM leaders?
CARICOM leaders. Don't pay those pipsqueaks any mind, man.
Well, okay. No, I'm just saying, putting it into context as to how this all happened, and perhaps that backing of our regional leaders assisted in leveraging this negotiations with Venezuela, a sanctioned country.
I'll tell you something. Well, just to change it slightly, just a step back a bit on the conversation, right? I'll tell you something that Marla said on the panel yesterday. She said that when Minister Alquita said that we're taking this anti-global tax minimum to the CARICOM so we can stand together as a united lobby, as a united body, right? And Marla stepped in and said, hold on, wait. The only time the CARICOM leaders have ever come together on anything was about 2 years ago when we were dealing with what was it she said? When we were dealing with the offshore banks, where is the correspondent banking and how it was closing down. And it took the CARICOM leaders 6 months to come up with one communique. It took them 6 months to agree on one communique. So now you're going to tell me that they're going to agree on something? I'll have to see that, Kim.
I mean, that was the strongest representation. I heard our Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, actually made some he made some sense before the U.S. Congress, along with Mia Motley. So two of them were most vocal at the forum. I think it was sometime last year. I'm not sure when they sat before U.S. Congress. And they too were talking about this correspondence banking
Yeah.
and how it affected us. Yeah, it was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah. But will they actually come up with a communique after for Venezuela, though, in support of Venezuela? Or on how we should deal with Venezuela in the United States? That's the situation.
That's the next thing. I mean, we're part of CELAC and all these ECLAC and all those communities. And CARICOM has their joint initiative with these, Latin American countries.
Yes.
Part of it is obviously trying to incorporate Venezuela. I'm hearing that I think I came across it in the headlines sometime this week that Mexico is even looking to join CARICOM.
Really?
I did that. I was surprised because I think Mexico is often so high up in the chain.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't anyone else that is really interested in being part of it. Do we have how many I don't think we really have any pure Spanish speaking countries in CARICOM, do we?
Only Dominican Republic. No, Dominican Republic isn't a part, actually. No. Actually, I think there's been a move now, especially with ECLAC and the United Nations, to lump the Caribbean and Central American countries all in one grouping. There's been a push towards that because they're seeing now, especially the Central American countries, they're seeing now that there's not that much difference in between us. There's not that much difference between Colombia, El Salvador, and Nicaragua, and from Jamaica and Barbados.
No. I think small islands. I mean, we're with the island archipelago, right? They are still large land masses. They've got a lot going on in their countries. And to incorporate that large landmass, I think would disenfranchise us. I'm looking at it from the perspective of whenever you look at financial institutions like the IDB and them, whenever they're formulating their policies or having their discussions, much of it comes from Latin America. Even when IDB was looking to elect their president, you saw most of the nominees were Spanish speaking.
Yeah,
it's Spanish speaking, and I don't really see the policies working in favor for all Caribbean nations.
It's a Spanish.
Yeah, and their culture, way of thinking, and everything is different when it comes to development and things like that. So when it comes to, I mean, being a member of CARICOM, obviously you've got to you're supposed to give so much money, to support the organization and things like that. And then you've got, other organizations like the Caribbean Development Bank. I know that they've got some subscriptions from Latin America as well, but we've got to be careful with that. That's just my personal opinion.
So we don't get swallowed up, right?
I think so. I feel as though we would get pushed to the back burner with it.
Good
when
point.
It comes to accessing funding. I'm seeing it already happening when it comes to being, they put us together with the rest of these countries, because I watched the thing with the EU earlier this week, where they spoke about the Digital Alliance.
Yes.
Right?
Good story, by the way, for Caribbean Magazine Plus.
And when I looked at it, the hubs that they created was in, I think, Panama and Chile, right? And that's Central America and South America. But it's saying it's going to work for the entire region. I'm not too sure as to how, and I'm not really hearing. I'm not hearing a representation from the English-speaking Caribbean there. And when you look at even PAHO, and these health organizations and things, they tend to create policies and look at it from their perspective, but we have different problems. We have different issues when it comes to gender policies, to supporting development in certain areas, education. Our education system is different. So we cannot be, just dropped altogether. I just think.
And be swallowed up by them. Yeah.
Exactly. I think CARICOM needs to be mindful of that.
Well, I think CARICOM will always have its identity now. Don't get me wrong. CARICOM will always be a Commonwealth Caribbean-led and dominated agency and grouping. It always will be.
You think so?
Yeah, of course it will. Of course it will.
And then I remember we talk about representation at the CARICOM level, I remember President Santoki, we're going to Suriname. The one thing I heard him say that really caught my attention, is that while we're just 15 to 18 countries, sometimes we have that power as an organization that if all of us, if we agree to vote on certain global policies, if our voices are heard with the number of votes, it can make an impact. I think all Caribbean nations need to get their act together. Now, we're not always, if they're going to put us together with Latin America countries and they're, rooting for themselves because they've got different issues, different developmental issues. And we're not going to see that support with our SIDS, small island developing states, because that's what most of us are, right?
Yeah, good point, Kim. Good point. But like how Marla said, will the CARICOM leaders come together and at least take don't let it be 6 months the next time you agree on one communique. Let it be at least 6 days, or 6 weeks at least. Let it be a whole 6 months, man, to agree on something. Come on. And it's probably only ego and politics getting involved in action, okay? I know exactly how it goes. A bunch of ego and politics. Or somebody said in one sentence that someone was jealous about, so I want to change it up and I want to bring it back the next 2 weeks just to let you know I did something, That's how they go, That's just stupidity with people. It's not just them. It's people in general. When they get to a certain level, they get this ego involved with them, man. They need to set that aside and sit down for the common good. Because it doesn't make any sense, going back and forth with stupidness. Let's get something done. But Kim, I wish them all the best, man. But this global tax and minimum is coming, and Venezuela with their gas deal is coming. So let's see how they take it from there. But it's amazing how the United States has changed, at least softened tones on Venezuela. They hated Maduro about a year ago, and they wanted to they were working diligently to try to get him out of Venezuela. And all of a sudden, it just changed. They love him now, and they're doing business with him. And trust me, give it another 2 years, the United States is going to be doing business with Nicolas Maduro right over the table. Not even behind the scenes in Trinidad or Trinidad and Tobago. They're going to be doing business right over the top of the table with Venezuela and Maduro.
Don't you think that's being a little bit confident?
Pardon?
Don't you think that's being a little too confident that they're going to change their tune?
Oh yeah, the United States does it all the time, man. They switch their allies to suit their favor. It's gonna happen. And
you think it has something to do with what's happening with Russia and Ukraine? I don't know. I mean, look what they've held their stance when it came to Cuba for so long. We only saw a change coming to the end of the Obama administration, where they decided to remove the embargo and things like that on Cuba. And then as soon as Trump came back in, I think it was reinstated. Not
Yeah. But two things happened with Cuba, Don't forget now, Cuba actually was trying to get missiles in to attack the United States back in the 50s with the Cuban Missile Crisis. But also, the Cubans in South Florida, they hated Castro. And so they lobbied to keep the embargo in place. It's them who wanted that embargo in place. It's them who always went to Washington, D.C. and Tallahassee to get their governor and their senators to go up to Washington, D.C. to keep the embargo in place on Cuba, which I found was so silly. I mean, did it actually work? No, it didn't. So why didn't you stop?
I mean, and they still got boatloads of people coming across in Florida.
Yeah.
It's their family, it's their people coming in.
That's what I found so silly about it. Why would you lobby for the embargo to hurt your own people and your own cousins and your own brothers and sisters that are left in Cuba? That made no sense to me. Just to get back at Castro because they hated Castro so much.
Yeah.
They hated him so much. It didn't work. Because my thing is, right, how can you change somebody's mind, their ideology, when you close off to them? You have to actually engage them. And they never even thought to engage Castro and the Castro administration, the Castro regime, to bring liberalization into Cuba, which would have allowed the people to see that, hey, there's a different world outside of Cuba. Maybe we should fight for change inside Cuba because there's a different world out there. But no, they couldn't do it at all. And it actually was counterproductive. It's counterproductive to shut Cuba off all these years because it didn't work. Only the people suffered.
It didn't, yeah.
So, I was shocked when I found out that it was the actual Cuban Americans that were keeping that embargo in place in Cuba. And they were lobbying vigorously to keep that embargo in place on Castro, which was just me. Maybe I see things differently, Maybe because I don't hate as much as some people do. And maybe I didn't have my land, my possessions taken from me by a government like that. Maybe that's why I didn't see it like that. But I just found that to be so nonsensical. But anyway, that's their life. That's their country. And Cuba's about to open up, Cuba's going to open up soon, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing that. I think sometime last week they had signed a bipartisan letter calling for the end of the embargo to Cuba in the U.S. Congress. So perhaps it's a return of what happened with the Obama administration. So we'll see.
Yes, indeed. And even the private sector is opening up. I spoke to the Caribbean Magazine Plus. I spoke to a real estate agent from Cuba who was sending me an email from Cuba saying she's selling real estate in Cuba. I was like, wow, so you guys can sell real estate in Cuba? Say yes. She has a vibrant real estate company. And they have foreigners, mostly Europeans, coming in buying property in Cuba. They're doing it right now, Kim. They're doing it now. They're buying villas and beachfront estates in Cuba right now as we speak. So Cuba's opening up, man.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to go to Cuba. Before the embargo, everyone flocked to Cuba for because they had the pristine beaches, the hotels, tourist attractions.
And most of the Caribbean men went there for the cheap women. Tell the truth. Tell the truth and shame the devil, Kim. Tell the truth and shame the devil. Most of them went there for the cheap women. And yeah, it's true. It's true. At least most of the Bahamian men I know. They came back and they came back with Cuban wives. There was a guy over here. He had a cleaning company over here. He brought back a Cuban wife, and she left him after 6 months. And she went to the United States. Yeah, she broke his heart, man. He was downtrodden for like years. He died brokenhearted, man. He brought back this beautiful brown-skinned Cuban woman, and she left him. Young Cuban woman, she left him. She went right to the United States after he married him to get out of Cuba, and now she's gone, disappeared. He died brokenhearted, man. Poor guy.
Oh my.
Yeah. So it's like, wow. So you went there for that. You might as well stick with the Bahamian woman. You might as well stick with one of them. One of these guys walking around here. You might as well. They would at least stay in the Bahamas for sure. They may have broken your heart, but they were staying here for at least you would have seen her. You would have at least seen her every now and then in the streets. But that woman went straight, just as soon as she got her, she left, she went to the United States to her family.
Oh my.
Yeah, he felt so stupid. He died brokenhearted. Poor fellow.
Oh dear.
The grass isn't always greener on the other side, man. The grass isn't always greener. You have to tell your lovers and your exes that, you want to leave, you could leave, go. You can go, man. The grass isn't always greener. Trust me. You'll be back. When you find all these dreams that you had going in your mind, and this is going to happen when you leave me and all this kind of, you're going to find out that it's not the way you think. It's not the way you thought it was going to be. Trust me with that.
What do you say to exes that are trying to come and get in contact with you, through social media, long after you all have no correspondence with each other? Is it just pure curiosity, or we call it macociousness? They want to maco your business, find out your business.
Okay, wow.
But maco is a term in Trinidad. Is when you want to spy without them knowing. And just to find out people's business as to what's really going on in their life. So when you hear a Trini talk about, I just macro in, that's them being blatant and saying, hey, I just scoping out the scene. I watching what really going on. So yeah, I mean, so you talk about seeing your ex and things like that. What do you think about that, by the way?
My thing is, my approach is now I'm just open with it. I'm just honest and frank. I have nothing to hide. But that's just me. And then everything's on social media anyway. So if you see me post a picture, I'm somewhere out, fine. But I want to keep some of my business discreet.
What about them trying to talk to you after decades have passed and things like that?
If I'm not dating anybody at the time, I'll keep it open. I say, well, it's fine. We can talk. We're gonna get back together. That's okay. Let's just take it slow.
You've been burnt already. I mean, why would you even want to entertain that?
Because I'm a forgiving guy. God is full of forgiveness and love and mercy and kindness and generosity and tenderness.
Oh, Eureka!
You never shut the door. You never shut the door on anybody, man. You keep the door open because you're not sure what's going to happen. You're not sure until you actually walk down that aisle. You're not sure what's going to happen with anybody. So keep the doors open, keep the channels of communication open. I
That's
say.
a male perspective. That's a single male perspective.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
okay, if you were engaged or with someone or married, or even if you're okay, look at it from the perspective of you having a spouse and their ex is trying to get in contact with them now.
Mm,
What do you say about that?
that's different. That's different because they're off the market now. So leave
Right.
my wife alone. You know,
Mhm.
that's done. They should understand that, to be honest with you. But if they're not married, if we're not married, there's nothing much I could do about it. You know, you can keep your friends, but just be mindful now. That's good. It's going to put a strain on your relationship with me.
Yeah.
You have to be mindful of that. So you buyer beware. Take the risk on your own. You know, you take your own risks.
Right. But I mean, because a lot of conversation on social media has popped up recently. To me, I heard a lot of people talking about spying on your ex and things like that. That's something trending, and I'm seeing a lot of it, especially in those female magazines and things like that. So I just wanted to get a male perspective since you were talking about spying on the woman, seeing the woman, and things.
Yeah, I think everyone's spied on their ex before. Everyone's done a stakeout before in front of somebody's house. Everybody's done that. Man,
Really? Wow, that's scary.
yeah, everyone's done that to see who they're dating and see who they're
I
going
could
with.
imagine that to see something like that.
Oh, Kim, you are telling the biggest lie right here on LimeVibe Live. You mean to tell me you've never investigated one of your exes before? One of your boyfriends before?
No, I don't care.
Oh, Lord. Kim, you only believe that?
Yeah, you can believe it.
Put your hand on heart. Put your hand on heart right now. And you're doing it too.
They're usually the one that comes around to spy and know what's going on with you. Like, hello, have you seen what I have right now? I don't really care about anything else.
You don't want to know if you're getting horned.
No, I mean, while I was together with someone, well, that's something else. But I mean, once you close that door, that's the end. I know that other previous interests and persons have always tried to get in contact with me, social media. They've usually sent messages on, okay, I'm letting out my secret, but then he knows already. But and I usually tell him, it's like, so and so messaged me. It's like, who's that? It's like, okay, this guy that I probably had a crush on back then and things like that. But you know, when you see what I've got, I don't really care. I mean, hello, I boast about my current husband.
Yeah, you're happy now. Your life has changed. You have no reason to look back at your ex.
Yeah, I mean, I boast about it. It's like he's the best. I mean, there's no comparison when it comes to someone who loves you, cares for you, respects you.
That's true. That's true.
And that is what I appreciate the most.
You're lucky.
Fact, because I don't get that. I didn't get that with anyone else because they usually wanted to manipulate.
Yeah.
There's the manipulation game. There is the whole trying to control and domineering thing. And they don't like someone who is quite vocal and I mean, this is the career that I am in right now. So there's a certain degree of attention that you're going to get and demand. I shouldn't say attention, more of a demand career-wise, time and things like that. Even though right now mine is kind of like, I need to go out, we need to do things in the night, but I'll make up to it one day.
One day before you get too old, make him happy. You know, spend some time with him, man. Make sure you spend that time. But I found the power in walking away too. You know.
What's that?
I find because men get dumped more than women do get dumped. Men get dumped way more. I think about 70% more men get dumped.
I think so. I mean, probably that's changed in recent times, but
You think so?
I know a lot of my girlfriends and female friends that have gotten dumped.
I think generally still it's still up to the woman to decide who the mate's going to be. She still has to decide. She has more decisions to make with regards to a mate. You don't think so? Especially when it comes down to children, who's going to take care of us and all that kind of stuff. I think women have the choice and who's going to mate with them. So they have the right to pick, choose, and refuse which one of these men I'm going to pick right now. You don't believe that?
Perhaps to an extent, but I think I don't know. I mean, the dating game has changed so much in the last decade. You know, last few years,
And
especially
the social media makes it worse.
social media. I was not going to
Yeah,
say that social media, it's made the challenge of it a little. It's everything is challenging. What you see is not what you get.
exactly. And what you see and what you smell in the kitchen may not do is cooking, Kim.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's happy on social media. You know, I was just telling somebody the other day, you know, they see all my pictures on social media. I'm up and down to the gym. I'm doing this. I'm in archery class. I'm with my cousin at Bahama. But they see all of that, but they don't see when I was in the church in the middle of the afternoon crying in front of the altar. They didn't see that part. I didn't put that part on social media. They didn't see that part when I was crying in front of the altar. They didn't see that part, Kim. So I
Yeah.
only showed the good parts, the happy parts.
I mean, everyone also, I mean, the same goes for people with relationships too. And
Mm.
people have usually judged you. Oh, well, you have a happy relationship. I mean, but it takes a lot of work, as I always say. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of tears too in any relationship for understanding, for
Yeah.
spending time with each other, for families meeting and converging is another issue too. So yeah, it's not always hunky dory, as
No,
we say
you
here.
know, it's a lot of pain when you love somebody in it.
I-
It's a lot
It,
of
it, it doesn't come easy. No relationship lasts long without trials. And
yes.
people look at me too, and it's like they've got no clue what's going on in the background when it comes to even finances and everything like that. You know? So
I know.
all of that plays out. To
Yeah.
me, I my social media, people might say it's lame, it's boring, you don't do anything, you don't go anywhere. You're just a homebody. Most of is like my food and my pet cats. So, but that's my life. I'll probably post up a scripture verse or something like that. Music. I like to share music. So yeah.
Okay, well, I'm trying to get even I want another dog. But my yard isn't fenced in, so I want to get another dog soon to help fill some of this void I have. So they say that if you don't have a lover, you can actually get a pet dog and you could hug them and you could actually share the oxytocin and they could actually make you feel better when you hug a pet.
I believe that. I mean, my pets bring a lot of satisfaction to me. They're a lot of comfort. There's someone to talk to. They may not understand, and I think they may not understand fully, but they're there. They're listening, and to see their reactions with how cats, their tails twitch.
Yeah.
Dogs, their ears move as well, and they watch you. You know that the expression on their face.
They
You
don't
know,
understand. They feel your presence.
they know exactly. And I mean, even with my pet cats, I remember being seriously ill. And anyone that was actually seriously ill at home, they were sensitive enough. People think cats are, they're selfish and they're just all by themselves. But the cats that we have, especially female ones, they're very, very attentive. They're very attached to us. And I've seen them when a relative, my mother, my sister, even myself sick, we had some dire emergencies with myself. And Miss Gray, of my pet cat, Miss Gray, she was there foot to foot with me until Kerry came over, my then husband, my then fiance, then husband. He came to take me to the hospital. And she was there with me and she was meowing and just monitoring us. I'm not sure what she could have done. But even when my mom was sick and she was doing her chemo and things like that, Miss Gray was always there by her side.
That's good. Miss Gray loves you guys, man. That's amazing.
So animals really do something for you. And probably when you take your attention away from yourself and onto someone else, a pet, it probably will take your heart off, worrying about getting a mate, and you might just attract someone when you least expect it.
Yes. And
So yeah,
reminds me of my puppy Rocky, man.
Yeah.
My uncle gave us a dog. He was one of three brothers. All the brothers and the mother and the father died. He lasted the longest. He lasted with me about 10 years. And he rocked me. Rocky kept me through an depression, a 10-year depression, Kim. A 10-year depression. I didn't realize that was a gift from God to keep me through that 10-year depression. It was utter bleakness and sadness, Kim. And Rocky kept me through that, rocking God above until my eyes opened and I saw the Lord. I saw what the Lord was doing. And Rocky kept me through that entire depression, man. And when he died, I cried. That was a Sunday afternoon. I was going to church. My neighbor was carrying me to his church. And not the church I go to, my neighbor was carrying me to his church. And I left Rocky there sick as a dog. And lucky he was on his last day anyway. You know what they sung on the choir for praise and worship that day? So long, bye bye.
Really?
I knew Rocky was there. I said, God, you gave it to me, now you took it back. So thank you anyway. It was just so surreal that I went through that. I saw that. And I realized every morning Rocky used to hug me. Every morning he hugged me. Every morning I got up, like before I fed him, he hugged me. He jumped up to my chest and he hugged me. And I realized, oh, he was just trying to be loving and attentive because he realized I was going through something. He saw in my spirit, even though I couldn't put it into words, he saw in my spirit that I was going through something and he wanted to make me feel happy.
Yeah.
You know? That was a 10-year depression, Kim.
That was a brown dog. You had a brown.
Yeah, the brown dog that smiled all the time.
Yeah. He was a pot cake. I know you all we call him pot cake. Yeah.
He was a pot cake. Yeah. Well, honestly, he was part golden retriever, part mix. You know, but he's more golden retriever than anything. Right? But you know, he's a beautiful dog, man. Good spirit, man. And the kids loved him. You know, kids loved him, man. I miss Rocky. Anyway, he's gone now. God took him back, so that's good. And he was there for a while. He served his purpose. And just as soon as he passed away, things started changing for the better with my spirit, my depression. I got out of it. You know, the good Lord brought me out of it. And I want to thank my friend Michael for carrying me to his church, because the Anglican church, while it's good, I'm getting involved in it again now, my established Anglican church. It wasn't for that Baptist church with their upbeat singing and their different form of worship, I would not have felt upbeat and would not have lifted my spirit. So that lifted my spirits, Kim. I was in a 10-year depression, Kim. After I came back from the United Kingdom with my degree, thinking I was Mr. Hot Stuff. I went through a lot of bumps and bruises. I couldn't get my head up. I couldn't make any progress at all, Kim, at all. 10 years, I was just walking around sad as a dog, just sad, just defeated. I couldn't get anything done, man. Until the good Lord picked me up. And he put me on solid ground, Kim. And he turned my fortunes around, he turned me around, Kim. And I look at my trials, and I look at them and I say, you know something? I can get through this, man. And I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy the trials, Kim. They're fun now. You know, if this is what it is, I enjoy my suffering. I look forward to my suffering and my pain. Yes, I do. I look forward to it now. Amen. Amen.
I mean, I was thinking about that too. And yesterday I was thinking a bit about that, you know, your trials and your sufferings. Yeah, you've got to be thankful and grateful for them.
Yes.
They bring you to the next level, they make you stronger. It doesn't feel that way. I mean, for me, I think I've been going through something for the last 7 years. 7 years I have not been able to find permanent employment. I've been just hustling right through, you know, all over the place. And it's been a period I keep questioning. It's like, okay, what am I going to do? And the thought came to me, what am I going to do when this period is over? Because you've gotten so close, you've gotten used to having that time of clinging and looking forward to something happening. And you know, it's moving forward. You've got to look forward to the next thing. You don't know when it's going to happen. And pray that it does soon.
Yeah,
but also grateful and thankful, because it's a humbling process. It's a painful process. It's a humbling process. Is to remember that. And it's a consecrating process.
It is, Kim. It is. What I find would probably work for you as well. Write down some of the things that you know God has done for you, or that you've actually came over, and write those things down. I found it too as well. Something amazing happened to me even before I realized I was going through a depression. I had written down a few things I want God to do for me, and I just put it aside. It was about 3 years before I actually started to really realize. I came back to 3 years later. Yes, I wrote that list in 2000 and I was in 2010. And I came back to it like around 2013. I looked at that list. Everything that I asked God for, he did. I didn't even realize he did. That's how much the devil just puts things on you and has you walking up and down in confusion and pain and distraught and worry and fear and anxiety. Everything I wrote down on the list came true, Kim. Everything I asked for came true. Everything I asked for came true. I mean, it came true. I could not complain. I said, God, you are amazing. I can't believe that happened. Over the course of those 3 years, everything I asked for came true. It's just amazing. So I would encourage you to do that. You know, put your request down to the Lord Jesus and say, this is what I want to happen for me right now in the next year, 2 years. And watch, when the next 2 years, watch if that would not happen. If you say it in earnest, you put it down in earnest, watch if that would not happen again. I believe that. I believe that because it happened to me. It happened for me. I guess you're so concerned right now because when you spoke to me the first time in 2017, you didn't realize I was in depression, did you?
I picked up a little bit. I mean, I would watch you when you did your walkabouts in the community,
Yeah.
'cause you were campaigning then.
Yeah.
And I've seen a difference in the last 5 years. I've known you for that, half a decade. And I've seen a difference in you, definitely. You've
Yeah.
changed in the language. I remember the transition for you happening sometime around the pre-pandemic, and you
Yeah.
started to change in the way that you would talk. Your whole disposition changed too. I mean, until I wanted to know, I was like, is it him going to church? Is it him becoming a journalist? 'cause I knew you as the economist, the so-called politician, person entering politics. So it was a total change. You were changing in many layers, and different facets of your life was changing as well.
I didn't realize you noticed that.
Of course, I mean, then again, I'm a female. We see things.
You see these things, like, yeah, something happened, man. I gotta thank my friend Michael, man. And now anytime anytime I meet someone named Michael, that's a guardian angel for me now. Anyone that's named Michael is a guardian angel. So I treat people who name Michael with a different level of respect. So I had another Michael I went to school with in South Florida, and he helped me out a lot too. But yeah, every time I run to a person named Michael, I treat him with kid gloves, with the utmost respect. Because that's my archangel Michael.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, I know a good bit of Michaels here. I mean, I have two uncles who are Michaels. They are pretty decent, man. I know other people, but not so much. Not so much. It's like the name doesn't align with the personality and characteristics. But it's also we're talking about this, right? But it's also to remember when you've come out from the valley, to remember, when you go down in the valley, to remember your mountaintop experience as well.
Yeah.
And when you're at the mountaintop, to remember your valley experience.
Yeah.
I talk about that because I remember my mountaintop experience where I worked. I mean, I was at the height of my career here in Trinidad. And I used to be so grateful for every time that, a news hour came around, and it was me having to get to set. That journey from walking from the newsroom to the studio. I used to always whistle. I used to whistle like a hymn or a worship hymn. And I've been walking it with my heels and with my news script and checking it over and whistling because I need God in my life. And me whistling a hymn is me trying to calm myself and remember that God is here to help me.
Yes.
Bring a peace upon me to execute this newscast or this talk show, in an eloquent manner. And then I remember one of my cameramen coming and he started to sing the words to what I was whistling. It's like, so someone picked up on what I was saying. But it was me trying to, like, okay, Kimberly, this is humility. Humble yourself before God and know that He's with you.
Yes.
So to remember Him in those moments too.
Yeah. Through those valley periods, right?
Yeah.
Those valley periods. Yeah, Kim, you're right. And
no, in the mountaintop experience, that was the best years of my career. But it's remembering Him when you've achieved it and keeping front and center in the midst of it too.
Don't move away from it next time you actually next month, don't forget it again, Tim. Keep Him first and foremost.
I mean, yeah, and that was 10 years ago. So I always remember, I'm always grateful.
Keep Him there, Kim. Yeah. Keep Him right there front center. See, our conversations always change a lot, Kim. So we went from what? We went from the global tax minimum to in Venezuela and the gas, and now we're talking about God and Jesus Christ and how I think more people should talk about their depression. You don't think so, Kim? Talk openly about your depression and your valley periods. Talk about it openly, man. So you can learn from it.
I think so. I mean, to me, it helps to have a godly perspective on it. And kind of worldly. I know they're the atheists, and I always want to know how are they able to get through their hard times without any faith in God, without having scripture verses to find comfort. These Psalms to comfort us. Proverbs for wisdom.
Yes. Yeah, I can't start the day without reading scriptures. You see them every morning, right? I can't start the day unless I read the scripture. I'm going through my third cycle of the Bible again right now. I'm in Chronicles 33 now. So hopefully by, it's gonna take me a while to get through it again. I read the Bible every year. I start over and I start over and I start over and I get through it all. And every morning I read one chapter. I can't wait until I get to my favorite part, the book of Isaiah. Trust me, the book of Isaiah is the most impactful book in the Bible, I feel. He says Isaiah went through a lot of stuff, man. He's so uplifting and so spiritually refreshing to hear somebody speak about God the way the prophet Isaiah did,
Yes, behold, I do a new thing.
Yeah, indeed. But Kim, that's us in a wrap right here. That's the end of the show. So any final thoughts? That's it. Let's leave it right there on God. God is amazing. That's it. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in for another LimeVibe Live podcast. I'm your host, Yari Camp from Nassau, Bahamas, along with my co-host, Ms. Kimberly Ram Calawan from Trinidad and Tobago. Goodbye. Good night.
Good night.